Women and children have been the victims of sex trafficking for thousands of years. In this video, we're going to cover the history behind sex trafficking, why sex trafficking is an important issue, the stakeholders involved in sex trafficking, and solutions that help stop the issue of sex trafficking.
That they were moving girls in from different area codes to be trafficked, different cities, different states. We anticipate that to happen during the Final Four. It is very busy. These are events where trafficking will take place.
This practice, going on throughout the centuries, finally became a political issue in the early 1900s. In 1902, the International Agreement for the Suppression of the White Slave Traffic was drafted. Its purpose was to prevent the procuration of women and girls for immoral purposes abroad. After a few years, it was ratified by 12 countries around the world. This eventually led to the United States passing the Mann Act of 1910, which forbids transporting a person across state or international lines for prostitution or other immoral purposes. With the problem of sex trafficking still growing in the middle of the century, the United States felt it was necessary to address the problem. This was done by the 1949 Convention for the Suppression of the Traffic in Persons and of the Exploitation of the Prostitution of Others, which was ratified by 49 countries around the world. So although history shows that the United States have done something to stop trafficking, it still occurs. So now we're going to talk about why sex trafficking is an important issue. Human trafficking is a grave crime and a human rights abuse. It compromises national and economic security, undermines the rule of law, and harms the well-being of individuals and communities everywhere. Traffickers profit at the expense of their victims by compelling them to perform labor or to engage in commercial sex in every region of the United States and around the world. With an estimated 27.6 million victims worldwide at any given time, human traffickers prey on people of all ages, backgrounds, and nationalities, exploiting them for their own profit. In the United States, traffickers compel victims to engage in commercial sex and to work in both legal and illicit industries and sectors, including hospitality, travel sales, janitorial services, hair salons, and restaurants. People do not even realize that they are victims of sex trafficking until it's too late. They don't see that people are around watching their every move, and this is how children and women get kidnapped and put into the sex trade. So who are the stakeholders? Traffickers can be foreign nationals or U.S. citizens, family members, partners, acquaintances, and strangers. They can act alone or as part of an organized criminal enterprise. For instance, this is an organized criminal enterprise called the Blue Heart. It's a sex trafficking ring. People often incorrectly assume that all traffickers are males. However, the United States has prosecuted cases against women traffickers as well. Victims can be any age, race, sex, ethnicity, culture, gender, anything. The United States issued the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 as amended, and the UN TIP protocol contains similar definitions of human trafficking. The Victims Protection Act have come out with a few ways that we can prevent human trafficking. One of them is to encourage healthy behaviors in relationships. Human trafficking can occur when you begin a relationship with somebody you never met before, especially online. Another tip is to foster safe homes and neighborhoods. A lot of victims are actually homeless or live in group homes. These areas are not safe enough, therefore they become a huge target for sex traffic rings. This is why we need actual safe homes for victims or potential victims. Another useful tip could be to identify and address vulnerabilities during healthcare visits. This means that healthcare officials such as nurses or doctors need to know the signs of a sex trafficking victim and report it to law enforcement immediately. Too many victims go through the medical system unseen. We also need to reduce demand for commercial sex. This includes preventing prostitution, selling sex acts, and porn. A lot of victims come from this way of work.
I received a tip-off about this story last year. I couldn't believe what I was being told. 12 months of investigating, though, has not only confirmed it, but also established it's much worse than first thought. Tonight, 60 Minutes, The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald expose what could be one of Australia's largest human trafficking operations. What's certain is that vulnerable Asian women are being coerced into enduring shocking conditions as sex workers. And even police admit not enough is being done to help them. Meanwhile, the crime bosses are making hundreds of millions of dollars and rorting Australia's supposedly strict border security with impunity.
It seems as though sex trafficking has been a current event for decades. We need to find a solution to put it in the past.